Today we're going to be making one of my favorite treats, which is a spicy garlic pickle using cucumbers from our own garden. And I'm going to be doing it in one of our BPA-free food grade buckets from Wallaby using their new locklid system that has a nice screw top for easy access. We have Chicago pickling cucumbers, pickle bush, and dar. Step one is making our brine. Now, we're going to do this by starting with distilled water. The reason is we don't want any chlorine. Chlorine is actually going to stop the fermentation process for making these pickles. Second, we're going to add our pickling salt. So for each gallon of water, we're going to add 5.5 ounces of pickling salt. And we're going to do it by weight, not by measure. I'm actually mixing my brine in a second Wallaby bucket. The reason for this is I can now pour it into the pickling bucket once I've added all the herbs and spices. This keeps the proportions of the brine exact, and that's incredibly important to the pickling process. Now we're just gonna rinse our pickles in water, and then we're gonna snip the side that was growing from the vine. All right, so now it's time to get all your spices measured out. Let's start with some dill. It'd be a dill pickle without some dill. About that much, 14 to 18 sprigs of dill. Fresh, straight from the garden. Next, we have crushed red pepper flakes. We're gonna grab a tablespoon of that. Black peppercorn, tablespoon of that. We're gonna get a teaspoon of coriander seeds and another teaspoon of brown mustard seeds. We're gonna get 6 crushed cloves of garlic. And I know you're thinking, man, that's crazy, 6 crushed cloves, six cloves of garlic is so much garlic. You could die from that much. And I'd probably say that's how I wanna go, you know, if I have a choice. Now, we're gonna put our pickles into the barrel, but we're gonna do it in a very specific way. What we're actually gonna do is lay the barrel on its side and lay the pickles in like this. That way, when we stand it up, all the pickles will be standing upright. Put enough in there so that they fill the barrel, but not enough so that they bruise. Next, we're gonna add our brine. We're gonna add enough so it covers the tops of the pickles, but not so much that they're floating around in there. You may see some of the spices float up, and that's okay. Now we need to put a weight on top of the pickles. Once they start fermenting and bubbles start coming up, they can float. We want to make sure they stay down in the brine. So what are we going to use for a weight? We're going to use a Ziploc bag, and we're going to fill it with some of the extra brine we made. Now, why is this? Why not just use the bag with regular water? Why waste pickling salt? Well, there's an important reason for that. First, I'm going to put a dinner plate in. That's going to provide a solid surface just to make sure they stay down. Then I'm going to add my brine bag as a weight. The reason we use a bag full of brine and not just a bag full of water is that if it actually leaked, it would change the concentration of the brine, and we really don't want diluted brine. Now we need to put this bucket in a cool, dry place. And for me, that's this cabinet. This cabinet actually has an air conditioning vent underneath it, so all summer long it stays about 70 degrees in here. It's a perfect place for storing stuff. Now we just wait 3 days. We'll come back and check on it, and that's when we'll skim it. Okay, it's 3 days later, and it's time to check the pickles. And they smell so good. They're not ready yet though. So we're gonna check the surface. We're gonna make sure if there's any white stuff, we're skimming it off. It's totally normal in the fermenting process. And I can see that we have some bubbles coming up. So it is fermenting still. You can take your bag out and give it a good rinse. Make sure that there's nothing on the outside of it. And then we're gonna put it in for another 6 to 7 days or until the bubbles stop. Now that the pickles are done, we have a couple different choices. We can jar them for the fridge or for canning. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave them right here in the Wallaby food grade bucket with a Wallaby lock lid to keep air and bugs out.